SKOOLnet Live. I'm your host, Brian Marks. Today we're very pleased to be sitting with Pablo Calderon, the Director of Programs for United Community Centers in Fort Worth. Pablo, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Brian, for having me and United Community Centers on.
Yeah, you guys are doing a lot of tremendous work in the community, but I wanted to start off by learning a little more about you. I know you have an interesting background and great education, and you've worked a lot, especially in the Fort Worth area. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey?
Yes, actually, I've lived in Dallas twice. Once when my father was in seminary at Southern Methodist, and the second time when I was in seminary at Southern Methodist. I was an ordained United Methodist minister, was recruited way back in 1971 by the Methodist Church here in Fort Worth to work in the Hispanic community.
Great.
In community service work, and I did that in the 70s and a good bit through the 80s. Went off and did a number of different things, but always a connection to community service. Worked with Head Start for about 7-8 years, worked with United Way, and here at the tail end of my professional life, I kind of see it as nice bookends. Started off with the Methodist Church, and here I am with an organization that's connected to the Methodist Church.
Great, great. So yeah, that's a nice way to finish off a career, really come full circle.
Yeah.
What's kind of the biggest change you've seen in terms of working with the Hispanic community between then and now?
From 70 to now, the biggest change is the increase in numbers of Hispanics in Tarrant County. When I first moved here, the 70 census indicated that Fort Worth's population was maybe 7-8% Hispanic. Now it's over 30% Hispanic. I should know those figures. I do know that the Fort Worth ISD is nearing 50%. We're close to 50% Hispanic. So those numbers have really multiplied a whole bunch.
Yeah, and that's a great insight. I mean, that's definitely a trend that they're seeing nationally, of course, also, and it's really important in the education world. English language acquisition is critical these days. Cultural changes in terms of how we're doing things, particularly making higher education easier to navigate and so forth. So, and the United Community Centers really has quite a storied history. Tell us a little bit about how it got started and how it came to be what it is today.
Yeah. Back over 100 years ago, the stockyard, some people may remember or know Fort Worth as Cowtown, and some folks may know about the stockyards. Armour, Swift, numbers of major packing plants were in North Fort Worth. They brought in all kinds of immigrants, including Hispanics, but to work in the meat packing plants. Well, a lot of these companies didn't pay real well. A group of women from the United Methodist Church, First Methodist, downtown Fort Worth, decided to begin reaching out and helping some of the community and some of the families that they saw that needed some assistance. And so this was in North Fort Worth. And it was about 105 years ago they moved to North Fort Worth, and the first center that was established, we now have 3, was the Wesley Community Center. John Wesley and his brother Charles were Anglican ministers, but they're the ones that formed the Methodist Church, and so the Wesley Center was named after them.
Great.
I graduated from kindergarten. Somewhere I have a photograph of me in a cap and gown graduating from the Wesley Community Center in Dallas when I lived there in the late 40s, early 50s.
Wow.
The church used on the corner of Harry Hines and Acker, just right out of downtown, is where the Wesley Community Center from Dallas used to be. But anyway, I digressed. The Wesley Community Center, the first of the 3 centers, is in North Fort Worth as I said, near the stockyards, a community that is second and third generation Hispanics.
Mm-hmm.
The schools that our kids attend are 95% Hispanic, 90% economically disadvantaged.
Mm-hmm.
But with second and third generation Hispanics, all those folks speak English, some of them don't speak Spanish anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The center that we're in right now was the third of the centers established. But when I moved to Fort Worth, this Polytechnic community here in Texas Wesleyan was transitioning from Anglo to African American.
Mm-hmm.
The whites were moving out. African Americans were moving in. Elderly whites were dying off.
Mm-hmm.
For about a generation, it was African American. But now African Americans have started moving out, and we're getting a younger Hispanic, mainly immigrant community moving in, and the need for English is real prominent here.
Yes.
A lot of the parents don't speak English.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got kids growing up, some of them going to dual language, bilingual instruction in the school. So that's a particular need here in the Polytechnic community. The second oldest center is referred to as Bethlehem. It's real close to downtown, just immediately south of downtown Fort Worth, in what was used to be predominantly only African American, because discrimination
Mm-hmm.
and segregating of neighborhoods
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Existed, and in some ways still has. It plays out in different kinds of ways.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
So was that related to the fair housing?
In the 60s and 70s, due to the Civil Rights Act passing, fair housing legislation passing,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you began seeing some movement out of that Bethlehem community that used to be solely African American.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, one of the first neighborhoods they moved in was eastward to this Poly neighborhood.
Okay.
When I referred to Poly at one point being totally white, pretty
Mhm.
much totally white,
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of the African Americans that moved here were those that moved out of the Bethlehem community.
Mm-hmm.
But the Bethlehem community now, though, is becoming increasingly Hispanic. The African Americans there are 50, 60, 70 years old, maybe a little older. The Hispanics, which are now a third of the community, are younger ones.
Okay.
And also like Poly, a lot of immigrant or first generation Hispanics. And it's, sometimes we think just Mexico, but they're moving in from all over Latin America, particularly Central America, but all over Latin America. Folks just move in.
Interesting, interesting. So it's almost like it's kind of like a time machine. The neighborhood shifts, and United Community Centers kind of adjust to the demographics, but continues to really serve the needs of the community.
Yeah. Unfortunately, our system of economics, or our capitalist system,
Mm-hmm.
will probably always have poor people.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And some people, and if the government doesn't keep up with the minimum wage,
Mm-hmm.
you'll always have lots of folks with extra needs and people in poverty. The specific needs vary.
Mm-hmm.
They do vary.
So is there a major difference between what the three centers offer in terms of the programs, or is it pretty comprehensive?
All three centers offer the core three programs that we have, and we're a licensed after-school facility.
Okay.
We work with youth, and we assist clients, and all of them are basically the same, but here in Poly, we have to be cognizant that many of our parents don't speak English.
Mm-hmm.
Our kids are in bilingual programs, So the educational offerings kind of have to take that into account. So
Absolutely.
there's some difference. You know.
Yeah, and that's a great point. One of the major needs, of course, right now is the idea that future success really can be predicted by language and literacy acquisition at a very young age, and being able to reach out to bilingual or native language speaking households, so that they can kind of help their kids position themselves for success in the future is important,
Yes.
especially with the shifting demographics. So what are you all doing to make sure that parents really can play that role and provide some guidance for them?
Yeah. The after-school program that we have, the first part of it is that it's not a service for stay-at-home moms.
Okay.
It's a direct decision to assist working parents in the care of their children with an affordable child care. And we charge a third or fourth of what most other providers charge. Each of our centers has 3 or 4 schools that we send vans out to pick up the kids. The youngest one's at 2:33, the older ones are in school a bit longer, so we pick them up a bit later and we bring them to the center. We keep them until 6 o'clock, excuse me, because that's about the time parents get off work, around 5:30, so we keep the kids till 6 o'clock. During the summer, we provide 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. During spring break, fall break, it's full day because the parents are working. So that's kind of the first part. We've always helped the kids with homework. But here a couple of years ago, we decided that literacy is really important. If you can't read, write, and comprehend, you're not going to have success in school and life. So we've established and we use a real literacy-based curriculum, and we work with the children. But it's really important to have parents recognize they're the first and maybe one of the most important teachers in the kid's life.
Absolutely.
And so we meet with parents and share that information with them. And we encourage them to do different things with their kids and helping them be part of their success in school, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's so important. It's really refreshing to hear that. I think the more that we can have organizations like United Community Centers, like SARE, to communicate that message so that people understand that it really starts at a young age, and you have to engage the parents for it to be effective change.
I was in a meeting the other day and renewed acquaintance with a professor in the School of Public Health at the University of North Texas Health Science Center. And we got into a little conversation about parent engagement. And she said that children from birth to 6 months, even before they speak, it's important to bond with them, and you can do that with eye contact. So parents, right from the beginning, should begin bonding and make that eye contact with the kids.
Okay.
Because it makes that connection with the kids, just look them in the eye, talk to them, be around them, use lots of words, and show that you're interested. Let them know that school is important, that learning is important. And, and the message of learning is important predates school.
Sure.
Because you're teaching kids how to tie their shoes, how to brush their teeth. There's all kinds of things that you can be involved in, and it pays off in big dividends in all kinds of ways.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the lights may have gone out on us here, but
yeah.
Well, thank you, Pablo, so much for coming on the show. How can folks get in touch with United Community Centers if they have a need and maybe want to get involved?
Yes, our website is at United Community Centers, and you may have a link that you can do for us, and you can call 817-927-5556, and somebody in English or Spanish can answer your questions.
Great. Well, thanks again. We learned a lot today. It is Teacher Appreciation Week, so I wanted to give a special shout out. Make sure you let all those teachers and educators out there know that they're appreciated, and they do more than we could ever ask for to help our kids grow up right. Until next time, school is the rule.
Thank you.